Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. Tider Insider TV, brought to you by Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports.
1-1 pitch. Ground ball to short. Cahalan's there. Makes the throw. For out number 3. And Alabama wins the Knoxville Super Regional by a final score of 4-1 here in Game 3 for the 15th time in program history and the 4th time in the last 6 years. Alabama is going to the Women's College World Series.
What is it they say when you beat Tennessee? Smoke them if you got them. Good evening, everybody, and welcome in to Tider Insider TV, brought to you by Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports. Visit Tuscaloosa. I'm Gary Harris. He's Rodney Orr, and we are ready to rock and roll on TITV. Alabama softball did it again. The underdog Crimson Tide went into Rocky Top and won 2 of 3 from the rival Tennessee Volunteers to win the NCAA Knoxville Super Regional and advance to the Women's College World Series for the 15th time in program history. Now, Rodney, Alabama does it by winning Game 3, 4-1 over Tennessee. And Patrick Murphy told me something today. This is Team 28. Think about this for a minute. 15 trips to the World Series. That means Alabama's been in Oklahoma City for the College World Series more times than they've been at home. That's an amazing stat.
Yeah, that's a really amazing
It really
stat.
is. This game, though, after they had 2 epic games in Game 1 and 2, I know Alabama felt like they should have swept Tennessee. They had to win this one, and they got a grand slam from Riley Valentine in the top of the first to go up 4-0. That lead held for 3 hours before they even played the bottom of the second. A weather delay. You had to hit the reset button. Alabama led 4-0 in the 7th as Jocelyn Brisky, the freshman, had been outstanding. She got in a little bit of trouble. 4-1, bases loaded, 2 outs, and Kayla Beaver got the final out of the game, and it wasn't easy. Kiki Milroy is one of the greatest hitters in the country, one of the best hitters in Tennessee history. She got her to hit the ground ball to Cahalan at short, 6-3 put out to end the game. Rodney, Alabama did it. So we talked last week, and I've been very honest. During the SEC schedule, this team struggled to hit, period. No, there's no way around that. Pitching had always been there. You know, in 81 innings going into the postseason, they had scored in 5 of their last 81 innings. Game 1 of the regional, they won it 1-0. Game 2 of the regional against Southeastern Louisiana, it was 1-1 in the 9th. They got 5 runs. The next day they came out and scored 9 runs in the first inning. Then they carried that momentum. They didn't score a ton of runs at Tennessee, but they hit the ball. They put it in play. And the momentum that they carried over from the regional led to this. And it's an amazing accomplishment. I really want to make sure I give Alabama credit because we know the postseason is how you're judged. They got through the regular season, and we talked about it last week, Rod. Patrick Murphy always says it's a what's ahead that matters. It's what's ahead. They did it.
Yeah. Well, I think the word you used there, momentum, we talked about that last week, how important that was. The regional that they won, obviously going into Tennessee, a lot of people, there were a lot of doubters. We talked about that. I was
one of them.
Yeah. And I thought Patrick Murphy did the perfect job. We talked about that last week. I said, look, I think he's put this team at ease. I think he's taken a lot of pressure off his players. When he said, look, it's a new season. It really doesn't matter what we've done, good or bad. And he said there's been a lot of bad. It's a new season. And I think he really put his players at rest, Gary. And I think that they went out there, they played loose. And, Tennessee looked like the team that was
looked tight. They really right. Well, there's pressure. Their head coach, Karen Weekly, is the highest paid coach in the SEC. Yeah. And she's had a lot of success, but they've never won a College World Series the way Alabama has. And they did look tight. And Alabama, listen, they embraced the underdog role, and they did play loose. They played with no pressure. You know, Patrick Murphy loves themes. His theme was redemption. And they got it, man.
They really did, I'm telling you. Look, I know he's had a lot of great accomplishments, Gary. You know, that national championship in 2012 is really big. But I got to think, what they just accomplished going to Tennessee the way they did has to be one of his top accomplishments.
He said it. He said last year he thought was his most rewarding season, where that team came from. But he said this year trumps it. I mean, because he admitted today, we were out at the airport, he said, he knew they were struggling offensively. I mean, he knew they had their first losing record ever in the SEC. All that was true, but he said, you know what? And he said he's a worrier, but he said he can't ask his players to do something unless he believes it. And he said he told himself, you got to let it go. You got to have a short-term memory. And good or bad. And this team got focused at the right time, Rodney. And as I said 3 or 4 times, they did it. They're off to Oklahoma City. They're going to play UCLA in the first game of the Women's College World Series on Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Central. And who knows? Don't count this team out. All right, it's time now for Coach Talk. Alabama head coach Patrick Murphy talked about the rest the team has gotten over the last few days. And when Alabama takes the field on Thursday, the lack of rest, I should say, it will be the 57th game of the season. They will have just played 3 games in Knoxville. They flew out today. They turn around and play on Thursday morning. So he was asked today about fatigue. But he said, you know what? He's going to borrow something that he often does from head coach Nick Saban on how to deal with it.
You know, I learned from Coach Saban a long time ago. One of his press conferences, probably with you guys, he says, 1 day off is good, 2 days off is awesome. And I've listened to that for a long time, and I'm the type of guy who, if the players are tired, it's my fault. And so I'll ask a senior, hey, you tired, you need a day off? And if they hesitate, they're getting a day off because that means they need a day off. So we've tried our best to play our best at the end. And I think one of the reasons why is we're fresh.
All right, and this was the scene this afternoon right around lunchtime at the Tuscaloosa National Airport. Fans were there to root on the softball team. The media was there, of course, to see them off for Oklahoma City. As I said, Alabama will face the UCLA Bruins. Now, that's a perennial powerhouse as well. 11 a.m. Central Time, Thursday on ESPN. Let me bring Rodney back in. Rod, all right, as we said, they've embraced the underdog role. They're playing loose. What's the approach in the World Series you think they'll take? Just the same thing? Hey, just go out and let it all hang out?
Why change?
Yeah.
I mean, I think you have to go in, you have to play loose and let it all hang out. I mean, and I think that's what they've done. You talked about it. They've got the pitching. If they play sound defense, you know, put the ball in play, they've got an opportunity.
That's the key, is just hitting the ball, because Beaver and Brisky and the rest of that pitching staff, they're going to keep them in games. In fact, Beaver lost 8 games. If you look back at the way she pitched, had they been a little bit better on offense, she probably would have had 3 or 4 losses. They're going to have an opportunity. Like Murphy says, key hits. Getting hits at the key time. You don't have to go out and bang out 10 or 12 hits. You've got to get hits. When you get people in scoring position with less than 2 out, you got to get them in. If they can do that, they're going to have a chance to win some games. I don't know still. I don't feel like this team is good enough to win the Women's College World Series, but I didn't feel like they were going to get there. And they've done that. So why stop now? Just keep on going. All right, softball is in the World Series. The baseball team hasn't been to the Men's Baseball World Series in 25 years. They'd like to change that. They're going to have an opportunity. Alabama will play Central Florida in the Tallahassee Regional. The Alabama Crimson Tide earned the number 2 seed, so that's good. I was worried about them getting in. Number 2 seed, they were never in doubt. They're going to play a really good UCF team on Friday evening. Florida State, the host, will play Stetson. Prior to that game, Alabama, of course, back in the NCAA tournament for back-to-back years. That's the first time they've done that in a decade. And for Coach Rob Vaughn, it's an opportunity to get into the tournament in his inaugural season, Rodney. And that's impressive simply because I know last year they had a really good team. They hosted a regional. They came within 1 win of winning the Winston-Salem Super Regional and advanced to the World Series, but they lost a lot of players from that team. So they brought back a few guys. Coach Vaughn comes in. He's in the portal. He's blending a team together. And so for them to be a number 2 seed in NCAA Regional, pretty good stuff.
Great stuff. You said it. Blending a team together. It's not easy to do. And, you know, he did a really good job to get them where they are. Again, you're talking about the first season. It's always a transition there. So I think he's done a fantastic job. I think the future's bright. But now we're talking about this regional, the Tallahassee Regional. I look at Alabama and I say, look, you know, they played against the toughest competition in the country. The SEC is top-notch. They've been everywhere. They played in different environments, some of the most difficult environments in the country. So this team is seasoned, Gary. I think going into this Tallahassee Regional, this is something that Alabama is not, it's not too big for them.
All right, let's hear from Rob Vaughn, who, you know what, much like the situation with softball, they're in, they got a shot, and now you just got to go play and see what you can do.
Excited to go, but, you know, we've been working all week, and the message last week was not, let's wait and see if we're in. It's we need to get to work to go win a regional, because I don't think that's the ceiling for this group. So we're excited to get to Tallahassee and compete against the other really good teams and see what we got.
Alabama looking to add talent for the future, and why go far away from home when you don't have to? On Sunday, American Christian Academy 3-sport standout athlete Eric Hines announced his commitment to Crimson Tide baseball. 6'3", 205-pound outfielder. He's 2025. He's the number 3 prospect in the state of Alabama, according to D1 Baseball. Watch this kid. Rodney covered him. He's got some power. He's got some athleticism. I mean, I think he's got some big league potential. I mean, he's that kind of athlete. So good for ACA Eric Hines is good for Alabama. Well, still to come on Tider Insider Television, what are the big topics at the SEC spring meetings, which got underway today down at Destin? We'll discuss. And the clock is ticking for Mark Sears and Jaron Stevenson to make their decisions on whether to remain in the NBA draft or come back to Alabama for another season. We'll break that down. And we'll be getting to your phone calls, emails, and tweets. The phone number, as always, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Or you can email us, TITV@WVUA23.com. This is the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV will return right after this. And welcome back to Tider Insider Television, brought to you by Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports. Visit Tuscaloosa alongside Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris. The SEC spring meetings down at beautiful Destin Resort in Florida got underway today. And it's the first for Alabama head football coach Kalen DeBoer, and of course the first for Oklahoma and Texas as members of the SEC. But Commissioner Sankey actually yesterday went ahead and met with the media and talked about a lot of different topics. And one of them is that the SEC is planning to have conversations this week, Rodney, about implementing status reports, injury reports leading up to games in football, men's and women's basketball, and men's and women's baseball and softball. This is something, again, sports is now tied into gambling. Gambling sites would love this information. What do you think about that?
I don't know, man. I'm the old college guy. I don't really like all that. But you know what? It looks like it's headed in that direction, NFL-type stuff,
Mm-hmm. And Sankey said the SEC will announce several kickoff times for the first 3 weeks of the season on Thursday, and they'll also identify some potential flex times for certain games later in the season, which is a good thing. They need to have a little flexibility based on how the season is going. The SEC will have an 8-game conference format until 2026. After that, the format is to be determined. And also, Rodney, one big thing that's coming up now because of the payments that are going to start making the playoffs are roster caps and scholarship caps, and maybe doing away with walk-ons. I'm certainly not a fan of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but look, again, it's going to be really interesting what the roster, you talk about the caps, what the number's going to be. Those are all a lot of questions that I think are going to be really interesting when they're answered. They've talked about increasing the rosters, mm-hmm. and that some of those walk-ons would actually be on scholarship, because you're not going to keep a high number of kids with this transfer portal the way it is. So, we'll see.
Yeah, it may work out. And we'll hear from Coach Kalen DeBoer tonight on WVUA 23 News at 10. As I said, he meets there in Destin with the other coaches and administrators for the first time. All right, before we get to Sears and Stevenson, Rodney, real quick, I wanted to mention recruiting continues. With all that's going on, you're still recruiting high school players. Big recruiting weekend. The whole month of June is going to be packed with them, but the first one's this weekend coming up.
Yeah, it's a real big weekend, a real big month, and I think when you look at what Kalen DeBoer and his staff, Courtney Morgan, what they're doing on that recruiting trail in terms of getting top
mm-hmm.
players in here for visits, I think it's really impressive what they're doing. And you mentioned this is a big weekend. Keelan Russell is one of the top quarterbacks in the country. He's committed to SMU. He's out of Duncanville, Texas, which is in the Dallas area. Gary's a really talented kid. 60 touchdowns over the last 2 years, only 12 interceptions. Ty Haywood's another kid out of the state of Texas, 5-star offensive tackle. A lot of people think maybe he's going to go to Oklahoma, but he's supposed to be here. Hopefully he makes it in. Jordan Davison's a great running back from the state of California. You get the drift. They're everywhere.
I got a kick out of what Russell said. He said he's committed to SFU unless he decides to flip.
Yeah, that's right.
There you go. All right, we're going to move on. The NBA draft early deadline for withdrawal, or the entry deadline for withdrawal, is tomorrow night at 10:59 Central Time. In other words, Stevenson and Sears got to let them know if they're staying in the draft or they're coming back to Alabama. I still feel like for sure that Stevenson's coming back. And I feel like maybe Mark Sears may wind up coming back unless he and his family and his team get an offer that is going to be satisfactory to them to go on to the NBA. So, Rodney, what do you think? I'm pretty confident on Stevenson. I'd say 50-50 on Sears, but at the same time, I'm 50-50 toward leaning toward him coming back.
Yeah. Gary, I think that's real interesting because I'm kind of been with you. I was maybe leaning a little bit Sears coming back, Stevenson definitely coming back. I saw, one of the basketball gurus, Kevin Sweeney, said today he thought it was 50-50 on Stevenson, which surprised me.
That would be a shocker.
I mean, so again, I guess we just kind of have to let this thing play out.
Yeah, although we know NBA drafts on potential. And, Clowney, we didn't think he was going to be first rounder, and he was. We'll see on Stevenson, but I would be stunned if he's not back at Alabama. All right, still to come on TITV, Alabama tennis player Filip Planinsek became a national champion over the weekend. That's a really, really big deal. We're going to have that for you. And we'll be getting your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, the phone number, 205-348 WVOA. That's 348-9882. You can email us as well. We want to hear from you, Tider Insider Nation. School's been out for over 3 weeks here, but boy, Alabama athletes are still in school in terms of playing and competing and winning. We'll talk about all that and hear your phone calls next on TITV. Big deal right here. Alabama's Filip Planinsek is an NCAA champion. On Saturday, Planinsek defeated Columbia's Michael Jing in 3 sets to win the NCAA singles championship, the first singles title in program history. He is ranked the 29th best singles player in college tennis, but he was the best when it counted. Just like we're talking about. Hey, when you get into postseason, when to turn it on, he defeated 5 consecutive opponents ranked right in the top 25. He earned it. Congratulations to Filip. Congratulations to George Husak, the head coach. And for Alabama men's tennis, you know, this is great for him, but this is also a program builder. You can now recruit. You know, not that they don't recruit well anyway, but this opens the door to get some of the top guys in the world. Because you have recruit internationally in men's tennis to get them to come to Alabama.
There's no doubt. I mean, you look at that, and it grabs your attention.
Yes, it does. NCAA champion. Big deal. All right, let's get down to Moundville. As Dale's going to lead us off here in our phone calls tonight. Hey, Dale, what's going on, man?
Hey, guys, just want to say how excited I am about the softball team. Murph's done a great job this year. I mean, we still got to go out and recruit some good hitters and stuff, but it's just like the basketball team. Everything's icing on the cake right now, and whatever happens, happens. But just wonder what y'all think about Murph moving Kristen White to the leadoff. Was that not a brilliant move? And I think that puts so much pressure on the defense.
It does. She's so fast. She bats from the left side of the plate right in. Key for her is to hit it into the ground. She doesn't need fly balls pop up. She needs to hit it because she's got a chance. When the ball's on the ground, she's got a chance to beat it out. Yes, she's getting on base. She's setting the table, and of course, she had the game-winning RBI in that 14-inning epic game 2 because they had the bases loaded. And again, she hit one right off the plate. Bats in the air. They weren't going to get anybody out. So yeah, it's been a big boost to the offense.
And Dale mentioned about recruiting hitters. And the young lady, you might have mentioned her from Northern Iowa.
Yeah, it's coming in here. I did not mention her, but she's one of the best players in college softball. Of course, Northern Iowa is the alma mater for Patrick Murphy, and she's transferring in, and she's got a lot of power.
36 home runs in 2 years.
Yeah, so that's going to help out a lot. All right, let's get to our email question of the day. Our email question of the day is brought to you by KDM Service Corporation. When it comes to heating and air conditioning, KDM Service Corporation serves your family like our family. Who will be the starting center this season for Alabama football? That is from Larry in Tuscaloosa. It's a great question. For a while, we thought... Brockemeyer might be in line to get the starting center. He transfers to TCU. Rodney, I'll just mention some candidate. Parker's Brailsford, the transfer from Washington. Gino Vandermark, transfer from Michigan State. And then the freshman, Joseph Ionata. Those are the 3 candidates that come to mind. If there's anybody else, let us know.
Well, I think if you look at it, hopefully it'll be Parker Brailsford. He was an all Pac-12 player last year as a redshirt freshman at Washington. You look at Vandermark, he hasn't even gone through spring practice here, so he'll be new to the program. Then you look at Ionata, he's a true freshman. Probably not ready, although I think he did show some good things in the spring. There's some other guys that have gotten some reps, whether it's Olasa Lennon, maybe a couple other guys, but I think the ones you mentioned. Here's the thing about Vandermark, Gary. He does have experience at center. So if something happens that Brailsford couldn't go, you've got somebody that does have some experience.
All right. Phone lines are open, by the way. 205-348-WVOA. This would be your time to get through if you want to give us a call. Plus, we're going to get to a big moment for former Alabama golfer Davis Riley. He wins the Charles Schwab over the weekend. We'll have that story plus more phone calls and emails, so keep it dialed in. TITV will return here in a couple of minutes. All right, Davis Riley was terrific in the Charles Schwab Challenge in Fort Worth, Texas. He took over the lead in the second round and never relinquished it. He wound up winning by 5 strokes over Keenan Bradley and the best player in the world. That's right. He was able to win this thing going away. Shots like that, big moment for him. He had one PGA Tour victory, but that was the team version last year in the Zurich Classic with his buddy Nick Hardy. So to win this one as a solo championship and beat Scotty Scheffler in the process, Rodney, this is a seminal moment for him in his career. Also, Robbie Shelton finished in tie for 9th at 4 under, and Lee Hodges finished in a tie for 12th at 3 under. So it was a good tournament for Alabama players, mainly, though, for Davis Riley. All right, welcome back in. Let's get back out on the phone lines, and our pal Tommy over in Romulus is with us. Hey, Tommy, good evening.
Hey, Gary. Hey, Rodney.
Hey there.
I am just real happy for the softball team, the baseball, tennis. I mean, the golfers who won the tournament. It was at University of Alabama. It was a great weekend for University of Alabama. The best part of the weekend was the girls got to light up cigars at Rocky Top.
You're right, Tommy. And, you know, Greg Burns said when he came here, you know, said our goal is to win at everything. If you're going to scholarship it, we're going to try to win at it. And really, there are a lot of great athletic departments in the Southeastern Conference. But Alabama right now, you feel like every sport that runs out there has got a chance to be competitive.
They do. And that's got to be the first time they've lit them up, right? The girls? Is that the first time they've lit them up? The cigars?
I
don't remember.
I mean,
before.
I don't either. But they have beaten Tennessee before.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't know. But they sure lit them up there in Knoxville, that's for sure. They had them, and they were ready. All right, let's get to an email real quick. Is this Patrick Murphy's best coaching job? This is from Helen in Trussville. We've talked a lot about it. Because of the way it's turning out right now, yeah, it's in the conversation. Certainly, this was the first ever losing record for Alabama in SEC play, and to be able to turn it around, Rod, and get to the College World Series, I don't know if it's his best. He's had a lot of good ones, but this one certainly is right there.
You know, yeah, I mean, we talk about teams that go through a lot of adversity. Well, we talked about that with the basketball team. A lot of people have counted them out. They made the greatest run in school history. They go to the Final Four. You know, everyone's lauding Nate Oates. I think it's very similar to what, you know, Patrick Murphy's done here, Gary. There was a lot of adversity, a lot of negativity, and I think he fended a lot of that off. He protected his players. I think he got them to focus to get where they are. So I think he's done an incredible job with this group.
All right, thanks for the phone calls and emails. We'll be right back after this. All right, welcome back to TITV. It's time to close it out. A reminder, you can catch a replay tonight at 10:30 or anytime at WVOA23.com. We're going to leave you with video from Not on Herb Day. The Louisiana governor proclaiming today, Not on Herb Day, talking about the great Alabama players' defense.
Unbelievable defensive player. Goes to show you that you can create stardom not just by scoring baskets, right, but by taking the ball away from those who are trying to score baskets. And so